In today's Gospel reading from Mark, we meet Bartimaeus, a blind man who had been sitting by the side of the road for who knows how long, begging. When he hears that Jesus is coming, he starts calling out for mercy. And he addresses Jesus as Son of David, the only time such a title is used in Mark's Gospel. Evidently, Bartimaeus, despite his blindness and all the unhelpful connotations of spiritual ignorance associated with it, sees the royal dimensions of Jesus' identity, which no one else has yet embraced. The fact that we know that Jesus will soon be crucified under a sign that reads, "The King of the Jews," just makes this moment a little more powerful. In ancient societies, and in many contemporary ones, both physical disabilities and poverty were signs of God's disapproval and punishment for sin. So it's possible that the crowd around him try to shout Bartimaeus down because they suspect he deserves his lot. But Bartimaeus knows better, and he shouts even more loudly, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." And his persistence pays off because, as he calls, Jesus answers. Presumably, Jesus could have just walked over to Bartimaeus to talk with him. Instead, it's delicious irony that Jesus enlists the onlookers, the ones who had just been trying to inhibit the beggar, to assist in doing Jesus' ministry with Bartimaeus. With the crowd's newfound support, "Take courage, get up, he's calling for you," Bartimaeus tosses aside his cloak and jumps up. The tiny detail of the cloak hints that Bartimaeus is anticipating regaining his sight, because a blind beggar could ordinarily keep his possessions close at hand. It also indicates that he's expecting his financial situation will change. For Bartimaeus, his health problem of blindness and his economic situation, which led him to beg, are a single difficulty. It seems to me that the same longing for wholeness of body, mind, and spirit, and that encompasses economic well-being, undergirds this weekend's celebration of Labor Day. The holiday honors the grueling lengths to which many activists had to go in order to be treated as human beings. It's because of their efforts that adherence to safety regulations and child labor laws, not to mention the existence of weekends, are commonly expected by workers today. Of course, we still have a long way to go in bettering people's treatment at work. The minimum wage is woefully inadequate. Gender and color gaps in pay are real. And too many workers do not receive fundamental benefits like health insurance, childcare, or sick days. As Jesus instructs the crowd around Bartimaeus, it is still our calling to facilitate and not inhibit a pathway to wellness. Bartimaeus could be considered an early pioneer in the pursuit of equitable treatment and respect, for no reason other than that he is a human being. He is confident that Jesus not only is able to grant him wholeness, but that Jesus wants to do just that. Jesus has done it for many others. So it's interesting when Bartimaeus appears before him that Jesus asks Bartimaeus the same question he had just asked his disciples, James and John, earlier. "What do you want me to do for you?" James and John answered that question by requesting the privilege of being seated at either side of Jesus when they are in heaven. But Bartimaeus seeks no special privileges, no power. When Jesus asks, "What do you want me to do for you?" Bartimaeus declares resolutely, "That I could see again." Obviously, James and John are more blind than Bartimaeus when it comes to recognizing that what Jesus is all about. Jesus didn't come to bestow status or power, but to open eyes to the new realities spiritual, social, and material, that are made possible in the reign of God. Earlier in Mark's Gospel, a woman with a hemorrhage persists in getting close enough to Jesus to grab onto the cloak that he is wearing, absolutely sure that if she but touches the hem of his garment, she will be healed. And she was. Bartimaeus' demand for Jesus' attention results in his being made well also. And Jesus says the same thing to both of them. Your faith has healed you. Now, I want to be clear that when Jesus says your faith has made you well, he is not saying that these people somehow believed their way into wellness. I don't want anyone to think that if they just have enough faith, they won't get COVID, even if they don't take any precautions. Nor do I want to give anybody the idea that their weak faith is why their cancer has metastasized, or the reason that their grandmother has entered hospice care. Truly, it is not your lack of faith. I don't understand why some people are cured and some are not. But I'm confident that it is Jesus who heals in all these instances. Miracles are not something that can be achieved or earned. Whether or not a person's physical condition improves when Jesus is near, faith can indeed make them well. What I mean is faith can open our eyes. Faith can unstop our ears and even raise us from death. We can be healed from our fear, our despair, our resistance to seek help, even if we remain ill. Our relationship with ourselves or others can be healed, even if our bodies do not recover their strength. It just happens that in this particular story, and in others for reasons that pass my understanding, Bartimaeus' sight is indeed restored. The story ends with Bartimaeus trading his spot along the side of the road to being on the road following Jesus. But lest we imagine that this is a happy ever after ending, let's remember where it is that Jesus is going and what it means to be on the road following him. They are headed to Jerusalem, and there Jesus will encounter confrontation, betrayal, and death. Faith does not keep anyone from suffering, not even Jesus. Still, as we heard in our first reading from Jeremiah today, it is God's desire that all of creation is restored and well. This text is full of good news, but don't be misled. These are a few verses from chapter 31 of Jeremiah, and the vast majority of the preceding 30 chapters overflows with sin and judgment and exile. Words of comfort now come to the Israelites, but not because of their faith in God. In fact, Jeremiah is adamant that they do not deserve God's mercy. The comfort comes because God simply cannot give up on these precious people. Like the story of Bartimaeus, this is a story about restoration, and it is a story about God. In Jeremiah, no one's sight is restored and no one person is made well. Instead, this text is a promise that the whole community of God's people will return home together from exile. Yes, the whole community will return, and they will do so together, no matter what their health or state of being. No one will be left behind, not even those who might be considered unfit for a journey, the blind, the lame, the pregnant. For God, there is only restoration if everyone is included. I'm sure that some people had a list of people or groups that they would have preferred to leave behind. Most of the world's problems, then and now, emerge from our forgetting that we already have love and worth and dignity from our Creator. So we try to earn it or take it away from someone else. But God dreams of an entire world that is healed and whole. In God's dream, both Bartimaeus and the crowd that was determined to keep Bartimaeus blind and invisible are healed. In God's dream, both workers in our society who are treated as less than children of God and those who treat them disrespectfully would be healed. When Jesus asks, "What do you want me to do for you?" perhaps we could answer as the hemorrhaging woman and Bartimaeus did, by recognizing our own need and then trusting that Jesus can and wants to provide for us, and by being willing to follow Jesus. In doing these things, Bartimaeus was saved, restored, and invited to the kingdom. And as forgiven and beloved followers of Jesus, we too are called to continue spreading the healing message that all people are accepted and precious in God's sight. Let's take every opportunity to guide those who are struggling. To those who feel forgotten or misused, let us be companions. To those who have limited income, hope, or access, let us be advocates. Let us take them up to Jesus, uttering the most hopeful words. Take courage. Get up. He is calling you. Amen.